This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by David Gardner, our honored Patreon member and SwitchCat.
Hey everybody, I'm KC.
And I'm JV.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Nintendo Switch Fabricator.
Ooh, yes, yeah. Good one.
We have had a very, I'd say, productive and constructive week, wouldn't you say?
Constructive is a very good way to put it. I'm so excited about what we're going to be discussing in these next 2 weeks. It's really unique and interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the Labo has hit. We've speculated for a long time what its effect would be on gaming. I think I can safely say it is a phenomenon at this point. I hear nothing but crazy stories all week. People have been working on it. I've been, you and I both split up the duty and got the two different ones, and
which honestly makes sense. You got the variety kit, I got the robot kit. It just seems perfect. It's like a perfect split there.
It's going to be the kind of thing we're going to talk about for more than a couple of weeks, because I really do feel like I'm going to, especially with the variety kit, I am going to be drawing it out and getting as much as I can over a very long period of time with it.
That's generally going to be our plan for covering the Labo, since they're actually kind of two separate entities with each different kit. I feel like we need to cover more than just one episode of Labo goodness.
Yeah. So we'll definitely talk about that in the game time. We'll go over some generalities, and I'll talk a little bit more about the couple of things I've built since I picked it up over the weekend there. And I have been posting pictures of my creations on the Lens feed for any of the patrons that want to check that out there.
And I actually found it really interesting because the variety kit has a lot of different stuff you can make, while the robot kit is just one big kit for one big gadget or piece of hardware.
Yeah,
definitely. It's a dichotomy there. If you want smaller little experiences or one big.
But we've been doing some other things other than Labo this week. We actually had our Rocket League tournament over the weekend.
Incredibly excited at the turnout for this thing. It was really busy, and I have to give mad props to Sun Worshipper. There were a couple of technical difficulties with a built-in tournament system for Rocket League. But the turnout and the enthusiasm was palpable, and I am so excited that was something that we were able to pull off as a community.
I had a fun time trying to give out the extra. We had the prize codes for Rocket League.
Oh, yeah?
Because pretty much most of them just had the game already. So it was really hard to find someone who doesn't own Rocket League to give the code to. But we did, at the last minute, I did give the last code I had out right before the tournament, so that was pretty cool. Someone in the Discord chat just grabbed it up, and actually we've been having a lot of new members join the Discord because of all the giveaways that they've been hearing. Word's been spreading about all these random game codes, and I guess there's no better reason to swing by than the chance for a free game.
Honestly, it's really interesting how that became part of our community. I've never been in a community where the members are so empowered to, give away codes and games and eShop cards to their fellow members. I don't even know how it got this way.
I don't know either, man.
But I'm not complaining.
No. But I'm trying to keep up, because I'm reaching out to several of the publishers that usually give us games to review, and I want to see if they have any extra codes that they might be willing to share with us to give out as well, so that maybe we can hand out a few extra prizes in addition to all the ones that are randomly flying around there. So we'll see how that goes. But I did want to shout out to the winners of said Rocket League tournament, and the second place winners were the Hypes, and that was the pairing of Bethel 88 and Chase the Hype. And
yes, absolutely. Congratulations.
And the grand winners were the Sultans of SWAT, which was the team of Cleric and Remember My Titans, all of which, everyone there, Discord regulars that we know, good people. So I'm very happy to see that And some people we haven't seen actually before win any of our tournaments. These are some new faces. We got a new sport, so a brand new skill sets coming to the forefront here.
Absolutely. Congratulations, Sultans of SWAT. That is actually a really cool name, and I'm excited to see more Rocket League action from you two, Cleric and Remember My Titans, in the future. This is going to be a ton of fun, and congratulations in the end.
And the Rocket League, if you missed out on the tournament, don't worry, because there's a lot more coming up. Sun Worshipper is wasting no time. He is now hosting a Rocket League, actually, the SwitchCast Summer 2018 League. He's shared with me the general rules and what the criteria is going to be, but he's actually going to do a 3v3 round robin. It'll go from there. I'm sure there's going to be a finals or a playoffs after that, but I'll leave a link to the league format in the show notes. If you want to check it out, of course, there'll be a link to that. I'll post it somewhere in the Discord chat. If you find there's the Rocket League channel in our Discord chat, I'll definitely pin those rules in there for everybody to check out. So definitely something to look forward for that. And if anyone else wants to run any other kind of leagues or have any kind of events, definitely talk to me there or email me, casey@theswitchcast.com, and we'll be more than happy to work with you to get more great gaming groups as we can create.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. I do local tournaments on a regular basis here in my city, in the city of Austin, and I just love having these tournaments and that tournament feel within an online community like the SwitchCast. It's something that I'm excited about.
So we also have, of course, this episode, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. We have the news, plenty to talk about in the new releases and what's coming up down the pipe. We wanted to do a special system switch where we're going to pick some ideas for Labo type games that we wouldn't mind seeing come over to the Switch. And of course we have the game time where we're going to talk about the Labo experiences so far. Plus I've gotten my hand, I finally get to review my first visual novel for the Switch, and I've been itching to talk about this genre and divulge all my dark secrets, my guilty pleasures of a genre I am unironically a devotee of.
Honestly, this is kind of your guilty pleasure, isn't it? I'm
Totally.
I'm supportive. I support you in this, Casey. It's okay. No, this is a no judgment zone.
All right, let's go into the game time and start having some fun here. All right, game time, and I think that we have no other choice but to give people what they want. We have to talk about the Labo, at least talk about it to start the most broad experience we've had playing around with it, actually touching it, actually experimenting with the carts, and I'll then go into a little bit of my experiences building a few little things I got from there. So let's just talk about, first off, when you opened it up. You opened it up, obviously you did your unboxing video on YouTube too, right?
Yep, I definitely did, and if you guys haven't seen it already, it's on our YouTube channel, the SwitchCast, check it out. But I was really surprised when I unboxed the robot kit. There was a lot more cardboard than I expected. And
yeah, me too. I did not realize how much cardboard was actually in that thing there. It was just sheet after sheet after sheet. But they're all nicely color coded, so you know which ones go together. It's like all these ones. They have like the little, well, for me, the variety pack, I guess, is more of a thing. They were all labeled like they had the icon like fishing rod A, B, and C, and then you could separate those, and those were all like blue. And then they had another set that were green one that was for the the remote control car, and it was just very easy to separate everything so it doesn't all get mixed up. Even if I pop out a piece and it's like a piece from one project and it gets like just mixed up in the box, it's very easy, as long as you look at the colored side, to know what project that random shape that I poked out of the cardboard belongs to. Yeah,
that's definitely a feature, probably a feature of the the variety kit, because there were definitely less colors in the robot kit. I had gray for the... I believe it's the limb pieces, and then orange for my backpack piece, and another one for my head piece. So
okay.
There aren't quite as many different things you could build, but it was still really cool. Now, when I first opened up my Labo, I was actually kind of surprised at how thin the cardboard was. For some reason, I expected it to be a bit thicker.
Yeah, me too, actually. I had the same thing in my head, that I felt it was going to be, that it needed to be thicker to be more, durable. But
right.
it's still pretty strong at its current thickness. For some reason, the videos or whatever made me think it was going to be a thicker material.
Right. I think it's more of an expectation thing or a situation. I was kind of thinking it was going to be the thickness of packaging cardboard. Honestly, the type of stuff that you're going to build with a Labo probably doesn't need that level of thickness. So it makes sense that it's as thin as it is right now.
Plus the package would probably have to be, think about that, the packaging, how big that suitcase we had to buy was, basically, right?
It is kind of a suitcase, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think, like, that just barely fits everything we put in there, so they'd have to make it twice as big if the cardboard was even, twice as big, too.
Right. Now, I'm definitely going to reserve my more deeper thoughts on the robot kit for next week.
Did it tell you how long the project is expected to take? Have you, popped in the cartridge just to look at what kind of information it gives you?
No, when it comes to that, I'm actually planning to record the entire experience.
Okay.
Yes. At least do a time lapse or some sort. So it's going to be part of the part of the additional content that we'll be providing to you all.
Okay. So I have popped in the original, the cartridge, and I did the first two projects. What I appreciated a lot, actually, is that in the variety kit, at least, and I'm curious to see if the robot kit has anything like this. There was a tutorial project. A very simple, it's not even really a Toy-Con, but it's just a case, a little holder for your Joy-Con. And it's the simplest thing possible to make, but it's just a way to practice popping out the pieces, practice the creasing and folding up of stuff and getting tabs in on each other in a thing that doesn't really matter. Like, if you mess up the case, it's not used for anything. It's just to show you how to make something, and it kind of feels cool when you get it together and you slide the Joy-Con in and you feel how snugly it actually fits at the end and all that. But it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops to actually do. And I felt more confident moving forward once I kind of went through this tutorial in a no pressure environment. Like, I'm not going to feel like, I creased something wrong, or I accidentally folded this thing backwards and now my RC car is busted,
Honestly, that's kind of a brilliant idea. I do think if I were to start popping open the Labo, even the variety kit, I wouldn't know where to start. And I'd be a little bit anxious messing up the first of the projects that I have.
Yeah, I'm sure, because it's so little space on the cardboard, that I'm sure that they probably include a similar, if not the exact same kind of tutorial for the robot kit. Yeah, I'm just curious to see if that's included in there too.
Right,
so.
I agree. But it's a great idea. It's especially good to expose little kids to the type of instructions that they're going to have to follow in the more complicated builds.
So yeah, I'll actually talk about the instructions themselves, because honestly, that's most of what the cartridge itself is there for. The cartridge acts as, your instruction kit. And honestly, when I look at this, I kind of feel like I want all instructions in the future to be placed on Switch cartridges. This is the new, every time I buy a piece of IKEA furniture, I want to come with a little Switch cartridge. And
that's what I was thinking. That's literally the thought that came to my mind right now. I really wish these instructions would come for IKEA furniture.
Because it's so, when you're looking at a two-dimensional image of an instruction, and honestly, the IKEA instructions are pretty good, especially considering considering they don't use any language. It's all
it's all symbology.
Yeah. But there's always sometimes you're looking at something, you're not sure if you're holding it right side up or right side down. You have to kind of match up where the screw holes are on this thing. But with the magic of having the instructions on your Switch screen is just the fact that everything animates so exactly how you're going to use it in person. You can rotate the object and everything's so clearly marked on the cardboard that you always know, am I looking at the top side or am I looking at the bottom side, right? Is it the colored end or is it the blank inside, blank color?
Well, that's actually really important though, because you want that clarity for the younger audience to be able to follow.
Yeah.
It allows them to get some sort of spatial awareness of the object that they're working with, and lets you reorient based on the colors of the different faces or the shapes. I think it's very handy.
And actually, this is a small detail, but I think it actually is a really smart choice they made. So the instructions play out like a video, right? And they kind of go through, but it doesn't move forward unless you're actively holding down the play button. So you hold down the forward button and it animates through the steps, but the second you let go, as in you're starting to actually do something, it freezes, it automatically pauses so that it never goes ahead of where you are, right? It'll only move forward when you're done doing something and you can hold down that button to make the instructions go forward.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, because if you're touching the screen, it guarantees that you're not working with a cardboard, so it'll be free to give you the instructions at your next step. Mm-hmm. But if your hands are full working with the cardboard itself, having the still image right in front of you is what you need visibly, really.
So yeah, I threw together the Joy-Con controller case really quickly, and I moved on. And then today, actually this morning, I did the RC car one.
Cool.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And that again, so this was like a 10-minute one. But I've seen all the other projects. They actually list the expected times, and they're all about 30 minutes to an hour, it looked like. And that's actually kind of surprising to me, because I don't even I look at these objects and I get maybe it's more for the time a kid would take, but we'll see when I do it, because I can't even imagine it taking that long. They're so quick and easy to do. But maybe for a kid it would take the actual hour that they suggest on these things there.
I did see online some people were saying it takes 2 to 4 hours for some of these projects.
Maybe.
And I'm not sure how that lays out. I believe there was even an article online that shows all of the expected time lengths for how long a project would take, and in total I think that's up to 10-16 hours.
Wow.
Okay. Which seems pretty interesting, because that is kind of the length of a full-fledged single-player game sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. So I put together the Joy-Con RC car thing, and this was actually the first one where I saw how the Joy-Cons are actually designed to slide in to certain spots on the objects you make, and it's actually, they warn you it's gonna feel loose. Don't expect it to be super tight when you slide the Joy-Cons into place. And in fact, that looseness is kind of part of the reason it's able to move the car around that.
Right. Yeah.
And I just thought it was cute, and I realized, I was taking it very carefully, but it took me a few minutes to realize that the antenna, in quotes, that you hook up to your actual Switch screen is just a stupid crown. It's it actually is it's a non-functional thing, but I was still so
careful
into being careful, I have to make sure that these things, and the fact that it slides into the Joy-Con slots on the side of the Switch, I just thought that was brilliant, and just kind of cool to have something different go in there. It was just a cool thing. But it is just a stupid hat for your Switch to make it look like it has an antenna. It's just cute.
A Switch hat. It's a Switch hat.
It's a Switch hat. I honestly, now I want to make other Switch hats. I want to make little Switch crowns and stuff like that.
That could honestly be a thing. I feel like Switch hats built out of cardboard, or maybe even 3D printed. That sounds like it would be a fun additional way to customize your Switch.
Yeah.
But I do think that it's really fascinating to hear you say that, because I really can't imagine having cardboard fit so well inside of the Switch slots. Mm-hmm. How did that feel?
No, it was actually it just went very naturally in there, and it was more snug than you would expect. But as I said, it's still kind of loose in the RC car. Again, that's why they said, though, it's able to do what it does. And actually, here's an interesting little thing they took into account, I think. Obviously, no two of these RC cars are, it's not a manufactured item. It's a handmade, and it's going to have
imperfections.
Yeah, imperfections, right? So it's kind of built in that they know that no two of these cars are probably going to perform exactly the same. But so once I actually hooked it up, I saw that on the controller, which is the tablet at this point. So it starts out, you just have the two buttons, and the two buttons are to vibrate each Joy-Con individually and, drive it around like that. But then there was a button that opens up the screen, and it gave me more options. And the options included the ability to amp up or lower the vibration level of each individual Joy-Con, and it's kind of a way to even them out, to make sure, like, is the right side moving faster than the left? Maybe you want to amp up the right Joy-Con just a little bit. And it was like kind of a way to tweak it to make sure, to find out how to get optimal speed out of your thing.
That's actually really cool.
And it's not even about just going all the way up or all the way down. It's almost like I was learning a little science here. If I put it all the way up or all the way down, it barely moved at all. It just had to be at the right resonance for the cardboard or the table or something like that. Like, the physics just had to be this certain sweet spot to get the most speed out of it. And I thought that was kind of an interesting, scientific exploration I was doing while I was playing with this.
Yeah, and I really like that as an application to teach kids problem-solving skills.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that.
It is a problem-solving skill. You have your Joy-Con RC car. It might not be moving as expected. Here are the little levers and knobs you can tweak. See what you can do to make sure that your RC car is moving as expected. That's a problem-solving right there, and it manifests in a physical way, and it's something that can be really fascinating to a younger audience.
And there are two things came to mind as soon as I started playing with this. Is one, I wanted to make a little racetrack, and I wanted to instantly race somebody else.
That's cool.
I thought it was pretty fun. And you have there's two cutouts for two RC cars in there, so you're built in to have competition right away. And
wow, really?
And then I instantly wanted to so here's the thing, I was involved in the Boy Scouts for a long time, and part of that was also the Cub Scouts. This instantly had parallels to me with. Are you familiar with soapbox derby racing?
Kind of, yeah.
Right, so this is a very common sport or activity at Cub Scouts, where they make little race cars basically carved out of wood, and they have a track that they go down, and they just race. People drop them at the same time on this racetrack, and it's a very big activity. In fact, there's world championships, and it teaches kids some physics. They have to learn what's the right aerodynamics or weight distributions or kind of wheels,
right,
and all that sort of stuff. I can see this being the soapbox derby of the future. What type of legs get the most speed? What vibration ratios? What kind of weight distribution? I could see people customizing these Joy-Cons, these Joy-Con racers in lots of ways to figure out what's the optimal speed you can milk out of these things, and the only source of locomotion being the Joy-Cons, that being the set, standard thing they all have to have in common. And I don't know, I could see that being a pretty interesting thing, and I would love to see tournaments of that start to come out of this.
That would be super cool. Just imagine having, a competition for this locally. Give everyone one of these sheets of cardboard for this cutout. Have them all customize it and have them all race through a track.
Yeah.
Maybe time trials or something.
And actually, it wouldn't be too hard, too, because as I'll mention actually a little later in the news, there are PDFs available now so that you can print out onto your own cardboard and make as freely as you want, more replicas of any of the toy cons, and you could just print out your own stencils to put on cardboard and make these yourself. So you don't even have to like buy a Labo. You can just make these, and then people can like share the Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I agree. This is just the most basic thing. This
Right.
is just the RC car, and there's even more unique applications within Labo, and we're already pretty fascinated by this subject.
Honestly, this is I just got this. Like I said, on Saturday I bought it. Sunday I started tinkering around and playing with it, and this morning I made another one. And already there's a lot of possibilities with just this first thing. But I will be making more throughout the weeks, and I want to see people send me pictures of how they customize these things. I think there's so much fun options in that alone. Like I want to start taking a marker and maybe even just custom coloring it. I feel like a kid with this stupid thing. It's just a stupid art. I want to decorate it, or at least put a sticker.
I wouldn't even call it necessarily stupid. But there is a degree of childlike whimsy to this thing, and it does bring it out of you.
So yeah, anyway, that's where I am right now with this. I will take on some of the longer ones definitely over the week, and I'll see if they do measure up with that. Though I am going to say this, though, I don't know where I'm going to keep all this stuff after I build it all. I am considering giving it all to like my little cousins after I make things, or saving a couple stuff for them to make, and then I can kind of get experience of what the actual kids, how they experience building it. So I might save a few projects for them.
Yeah.
And then just kind of like
a good plan.
Giving it all to them after I've done having my stupid adult fun building the stuff, and just let them play with it after that.
I think that might be that might be really fun. It would be worth doing that.
Yes, we'll definitely have updates in the future on that. I want to hear more about stuff that you've been playing this week.
Well, I did pick up the robot kit. There have been actual Switch games that I played. I'm going to start off by talking about Aqua Kitty.
Ooh.
So, you've heard of if you haven't heard about Aqua Kitty, it's a 2D shmup with a horizontal control scheme instead of a standard vertical. So,
okay.
So, think Resogun or Defender. That's kind of the style of it. So the premise of the game is honestly pretty adorable. It's called Aqua Kitty, so it's gonna be adorable. The premise is essentially that the Earth ran out of milk for cats, but then a new source was discovered at the bottom of the ocean.
Was it
so
like
all
sea cows?
Yes. No, I don't know. They have a little harvesting plants down there. I don't know where it's coming from, but from there, all the world's cats come together to mine it from underwater.
Okay.
Now, there are like weird fish robots and other sea creature robots that are trying to stop you. So you, as your character, hop onto this heavily weaponized submarine to defend the milk farming cats from those evil robots, those evil fish robots.
Okay.
That's the premise.
So wait, now I'm trying to look at the images here. So you're basically, are you traveling like left to right across the screen?
Yeah.
Like
it's purely horizontal movement. You only shoot left and right. You can move your character up and down, but you'll always be facing in those two directions. The fundamental gameplay is pretty straightforward. And that's not even a knock on the game. So you just control on left-right plane, and you shoot with a normal weak shot by pressing one button. You hold one down for a more powerful charged shot. And in the classic game mode, you collect power-ups that are dropped by killing certain enemies.
it kind of reminds me of, when looking at this, is like, do you know that Atari game Defender?
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. Defender, Resogun, those are the types of games that this is. And
Gotcha, okay.
It is essentially a take on that genre. The only difference being that you're trying to defend these cute little cats, evil fish robots.
Okay, so there's always that thing there that you have to kind of be guarding or escorting as it's doing its mission.
Right. There are milk plants at the very bottom of the sea floor, and you're essentially running around. Sometimes the cats might get captured or kidnapped, and you have to shoot down the captors to drop the milk farmers from back down to the plant. It's honestly really cute. The premise of the game is everywhere. There's pixelated kitten characters wherever you look. They're splattered everywhere in the menus, in the game itself.
I'm looking just at the cover screen of it, and it has that super sad-looking kitten, like, on the planet. Like, there's no milk.
Yeah.
Where's the milk? And just that the milk must flow.
It's pretty cute. The graphics itself are, part of the charm of this game. And you see cats with sailor hats, cats in scuba gear, engineering cats in jumpsuits. They're scattered everywhere in the menus, in the game over screen. It's adorable.
Is it like an old arcade game where it's just you keep fighting in the same situation and it gets harder and harder, or are there stages that you'll advance to as you play?
Right. So it does have a standard level structure where you have multiple levels that come together to form a full stage. And then at the end of the stage, there's a bit of a boss that you have to fight to take down, and then you progress to the next set of stages, levels and stages. So that's a pretty standard structure.
So how do you actually beat a stage? Is it just that you have to protect those things for a certain amount of time, or do you just kill everything on the screen?
Yeah, you kill everything, and then once the cats are deemed safe, you move on to one.
Gotcha.
There are a certain number of waves that come out, and then you kill all the waves, and then boom, you're good to go. Mm-hmm. Now, there are a couple of other modes, too. There's an arcade mode, which is essentially the same as the classic mode, but you have a persistent resource that you use between each level to power up your ability.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of a way, if you want to feel like there's a certain progression to your gameplay, that's the mode you can do.
What kind of things can you power up?
Just widening your shots, adding more little bits around you to shoot out, that type of stuff. The more interesting mode is actually the Dreadnought mode, where you're going through trenches and taking down a large enemy ship piece by piece, and then rescuing captured kittens.
Oh, cool.
It's more interesting because it's not the circular or the looping single ocean map that you're used to in the standard. It's a more interesting layout. So ultimately, the classic and arcade modes are fairly similar, and the Dreadnought mode adds a bit of a twist to that gameplay. The thing is, I never really felt like the gameplay changed too much between all three of these modes, so it's still a little bit repetitive, but the fundamental gameplay seems pretty solid. Now, what I did like is that there is a 2-player couch co-op for this game.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
Yeah. Couch co-op, that's something that I always look for in a game. It's because it's not really prevalent in many other console games, so whenever it's present in the Nintendo Switch, I always want to mention.
Especially in this kind of game where, you can both be covering different, where things are in danger, you could both kind of split up.
The game can actually get pretty difficult because you have relatively limited movement capabilities, and the screen can fill up with a lot of enemies and bullets. So it can be pretty tricky, and having a second player to help you out really is a benefit.
Does it give you any kind of alert when something's happened on a part of the screen that you can't see?
Right, yeah. So at the very top of the screen, you have a map that shows where you are in position of the whole map itself. And whenever one of the kitties are in danger of being fully captured and taken away, there's going to be a warning sign like warning, warning, warning within that map, and then you have to go through the map to the location to save the cat. It's actually kind of funny and a bit sad because sometimes the robot fish trying to capture the cat is just far out of reach, lifting it up, and you can't save that cat, and it's adorable, but that cat's doomed.
No!
But and the game itself is solid. There's nothing really exceptional about this game. It's very solid. It's a very pick up and play, and the controls feel sturdy and clean. Overall, the game doesn't really have any glaring problems, but it's not doing anything particularly amazing outside of its art style and theme. So it's a solid game to kill time on like a plane or a bus. And it's a pretty low price. I believe it's $9.
Oh, okay. For that price, yeah. So you think you'd get $10 worth of gameplay out of this then?
Oh, absolutely. For the price that they're asking, there is replay The theme itself is cute, and the gameplay is not objectionable in any way. It's worth checking out.
All right, very cool.
I think it's worth checking out. Now, the other game I was playing is called Rogue Aces. Have you seen this one, Casey?
I have seen. This is kind of in the same genre, but maybe a little more World War II-y.
Yeah, I don't know if it's specifically World War. I know it's a lot more military style. Rogue Aces is definitely another 2D shmup, though it allows you to control one of those classic propeller-style airplanes with a more dogfighting focus. This means that instead of being restricted from left to right, like in Aqua Kitty, you're acrobatically moving around more freely through the air. And there's quite a bit more to the controls, though it is pretty straightforward. So you use the left stick to steer your plane in all directions. You can use L to use your afterburners, R lets you fire your guns, and then X and Y lets you deploy rockets and bombs. The tricky part is that you're moving around and you're doing acrobatics fighting against other ships. But there are different enemies that you have to fight.
Do you get to feel more of that, like, that momentum, like, when you're flying up, you struggle a little bit, and then you can, like, dive down really fast and kind of use gravity?
Yeah, the physics aren't that refined, but the freedom of direction that you get does feel a lot more freeing than something like Aqua Kitty or Defender or Resogun. It definitely feels free, and it allows you to do a bunch of acrobatics and loop-de-loops to get at enemies that might be behind you. And that's part of the fun of the fundamental gameplay. You're essentially moving around this 2D plane in really free modes or free directions trying to kill your end. That's part of the fun.
And you have to just kill everything that's in the map before you can advance to the next stage.
It actually has what's called a campaign mode, though I kind of contest that statement.
Okay.
You undertake a series of randomly generated missions, just one after the other without any real positive, and kill all the enemies in your area until you eventually take over a new base, and then you progress to the next quote-unquote stage. Mm-hmm. And as far as I can tell, you really just proceed this way constantly, like in a loop, until you run out of lives, which you get 3, or you move on to the next stage. I believe missions can range from shooting down specific enemies, actually targeting buildings that are on the ground, weapon stockpiles, like destroying weapon stockpiles as a target. There's different missions that you undertake for each quote-unquote level, but once you take care of that, you move on to the next stage pretty seamlessly.
Okay. Is there a good variety of enemies in this? I see, like, the bombers, I see paratroopers, I see tanks. Are there a good variety of these things?
Yeah, there is quite a bit of variety. Sometimes you have to attack ground units, sometimes you have to attack air units. Fighting air units are the most fun because, you have to move around and maneuver to get at them, and it does feel like dogfighting in that, and I like that a lot. The interesting part is that you do have a limited amount of fuel, so you have to actually go back to your base to refuel, and when you do that, there is like a whole sequence you have to take care of for landing the plane.
Oh, okay.
And it's a bit tricky landing the plane when you're in a 2D plane, I guess. And that's something that you have to take care of. But that additional mode, or that additional thing you have to keep track of, is actually pretty interesting.
Is there anything like that makes it something that's particularly hard to juggle? Like, is there like a countdown or something that makes like going back for fuel particularly risky?
Well, you definitely have to try to get down at a certain angle, and you have to throttle carefully.
So it's just the actual procedure of doing the landing.
Yeah, it's the procedure of the landing that you have to worry about. It's not overly complicated, but the fact that it's just a thing that you have to do, it's pretty interesting.
Okay. I see this meter on the right side of different like missiles and stuff. So are these like a variety of weapons that you accumulate or you have to drop on?
Yeah, that's right. So whenever you shoot down certain enemy planes, they'll drop a power-up that you can collect, which gives you permanent bonuses like additional armor or a higher rate of fire or better turning speeds. When it comes to specific projectiles like rockets or bombs, you will have a limited amount of those, and you can actually restock when you go back to your base. So whenever you're playing through a certain mission, you have to be mindful of your resources whenever you're fighting enemies, or else you might stall out and crash. There aren't really any major checkpoints, so you play until your planes, you run out of life. And from there, once you die, you're given a score, and then you go back to the title screen and start from the beginning again. So it has that gameplay loop that you can really dig into. I thought it was pretty good. So yeah, this game is actually $10.40. So, about the same as Aqua Kitty, actually.
Okay. So what are the key differences that you can maybe recommend one or the other to certain types of players?
It was actually really weird because the two games that I reviewed completely independently have a very similar genre in that they're both shoot 'em ups in a 2D plane. But the fundamental difference between the two, I actually would prefer Rogue Aces over Aqua Kitty, just because the dogfighting that you get feels a lot more free and a lot more fun.
Okay.
Yeah. The maneuvers you take, the varied missions that you have to do, and the gameplay loop of Rogue Aces feels a lot more fun. But if you like the theme of Aqua Kitty, and you like that there is the 2-player co-op in that game,
that's the seller for me. That's the selling point on Aqua Kitty for me, the multiplayer.
Right. Something like that. It is fun in a co-op environment. Rogue Aces does not have any co-op whatsoever. So I would recommend Rogue Aces if you don't have anyone else to play with, or if you don't really like the Aqua Kitty theme. But if theme is your thing, Aqua Kitty is the way to go.
But yeah, they both look really fun, and they're fun action arcade games for $10. That's great.
I do want to make one last note about Rogue Aces before we move on. I liked that whenever you fail, there's this really, really British commander that chimes in on you with a very heavily accented one-liner. I think I wrote one down. I think he said something, you were doing quite well until you died. Or, you appear slightly dead, old chap. I can't do British accents, but he says something really witty and kind of halfway supportive whenever you die, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Pretty funny. Okay, very cool. All right, nice. I'm actually glad that you got to play two games that were just coincidentally in this same genre. Well, here's the thing that I haven't gotten to review any of before, so I definitely know I haven't had anything to compare it to on the Switch, at least.
Oh, yeah? Let's see it. Let's hear it.
My guilty pleasure, I've mentioned it before on the show, that I'm a dedicated fan of the visual novel genre, and just out of necessity, I've been drawn to the otome ones, or basically female-directed or oriented visual novels where you play a girl in romantic situations. I unironically like these.
Yeah, I that's definitely a quirk of you that I've known for many years, Casey. And you actually did have a really good explanation and justification for why you like the otome style over the standard style.
Yeah, because the main thing is I've played a lot of visual novels, and the ones that are made for men is that they are very immaturely written. They're very fan servicey.
Right?
They're very, I don't know, like I feel like the characters are very fake and very non-believable, and it's just very wish fulfillment-y. Like everything is just like girls and stupid, like, fan service shots, and they just fall for him for no reason. It's just like, I don't buy the relationships. Women throw themselves. I hate it. It feels icky.
Right. I definitely agree with you. Like, when it comes to visual novels that are written for men, there is a degree of, lewdness to them. Yeah. Usually.
No, really is. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the focus of that game for male audiences is kind of titillation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And I wanted to give everyone this little out in case this topic is totally boring you. Just go right now to the timestamps and skip to the news rundown if you don't want to hear me talk about a romantic visual novel. I totally understand that.
I feel like it's worth staying to hear what Casey thinks about a visual novel.
So
a romance one.
So here's the thing. My gold standard for these kinds of visual novels is Code Realize. Best one came out on Vita and a few other systems here and there, and it follows a lot of the thing. It's kind of the game that I expect, not because it's just its format is just what worked for it. I think it set a lot of precedents or uses a lot of tropes that I think are just good for this genre and a lot of games should follow. Now, I want there to be more games like this, and I want there to be a good, flourishing market for this kind of game. But I have to say that the Charming Empire, which is the one I got for the Switch this week, does fall short on like almost every one of my standards for what one of these things should be.
All right, I want to hear what your standards are and why this falls short, Casey.
Okay.
I'm very interested.
So the general format or the general flow of a good visual novel or a romantic visual novel is you start out with your story, you have your main character, they get involved in some plot, and then at some point you meet all these characters, right? And you get to know the characters. You get to know, what's this guy's ambitions? What's his goal? What's his personality over here? And you'll meet a variety of them. You'll get to make certain choices as to what you say or what branch of the plot you visit, like little side trips. Like, oh, hey, we're all going exploring in the city. Do you want to go to this part of town with this character, or do you want to go build this airship with this character? Like, just things like that. You just see different scenes, and they keep track of who you seem to favor based on your decisions. Maybe you spent a lot of time with this character, or maybe you said things that this character has the most affinity for. And then at some point in the game, there's a major branch in which the character that you favored most just kind of becomes the one that you go through the rest of the story with. Like, that is like your pairing, and you'll go down a very different story with them than you did with all the other characters. But by that point of that branching point, you've had plenty of time to get to know the characters and to make decisions that influence who you spend the second half of the game with. That's the general formula, and then there's maybe some bad endings or death scenes you can get in from there.
Right, that seems like it's the standard flow of these types of games.
And not to say that every game has to do that, but there's a lot of reasons that works, and if you're going to do something different, there should be a reason for it. So right off the bat, with the Charming Empire here, the first thing you do at the start of the game is pick which character you're going through the story with. Like, they show you 5 people. I know nothing about them. I have a little profile picture, and I see their name. And I now have to pick who I'm going to play through this story with.
Ooh, that's a faux pas.
It feels really weird. Like, I have no idea, and all right. And I don't even know if I'm picking a guy I'm interested in their story or anything like that. So I pick one. Now, here's the next thing. The story doesn't the story is very inconsistent with whom I pick. Actually, let me start with what the general premise of this game is. So the general premise or the general plot of the Charming Empire is that you are the sister of the Emperor of Japan, okay? And he stuck you away out in the country for like the last 10 years, I guess just hiding you away for a while. But now one day he sends some men to come and take you back to the capital and to be trained as a princess and to get married off to some foreign, dignitary or to make some alliance or something like that.
Okay.
All right. And it has a little bit of that My Fair Lady kind of feel where it's like you're just country bumpkin and you're trying to learn how to live in high society and stuff like that. So right from the beginning, like I said, there's a very brief prologue, and then right from the beginning, you pick the character, and then whoever you pick, he is almost the only, not only do you have to pick a character and not know about anything about him or the others, all the other characters don't exist after you pick them.
Really?
Like,
so you're just stuck interacting with this one person that you picked based on nothing.
basically, right. In fact, there are no other characters other than like my brother, the Emperor himself, and maybe a very brief cameo by one of the other 4 boys, very briefly. You only see this one character, and I'm only talking to him, and my whole story revolves around this one person for the rest of the story until I get to an ending. And I'm just very, like, it doesn't jive with me. Like, I want to feel like I'm experiencing a whole story, and the romance shouldn't be the only thing in a story like this. There should be a overarching story, and then the relationships with the characters should grow organically through that. This just feels like they're throwing at you, here's the person, and here's how your relationship blooms, and we're going to keep throwing you in situations where you learn more about each other, and then later on, like, literally there's like a plot twist that's supposed to happen near the end, like a big revelation, and the big revelation literally comes during a conversation. He pulls out a piece of paper that says, oh, by the way, this person's...
Here's the revelation.
Yeah, here's the revelation. I am, and this person isn't who they say they are. And I'm just like, really? Where'd that come from? Like, there was literally nothing leading up to that. There was no setup, no work to get to that. There was no clue or foreshadowing. It's just, hey, it's about time we move into the final plot point, and you've gotten to know me, so let me go and just drop this random plot twist on you, and now you have to make decisions based on that. And I'm like, I don't even care, dude, anymore. Like, I don't care about you. I don't care about
you.
Honestly,
I don't care about this.
The different characters, they do have, like, they all have a very different story that's interesting. Like, one of the characters is the bodyguard who's really stoic, and he's always with you all the time, and it's just about, like, how to deal with this person who doesn't leave you alone ever and won't talk to you. But then I told you, like, all the other stories pretend the other characters don't exist. So then I pick another character, and my main plot in there is that I have no one around me, and I feel very lonely because there's no one to talk to. And I actually find like a secret path out of the castle, and the character you meet in that one is like just some common villager who, like, befriends you in the town, and he doesn't know you're, secretly the princess to the emperor there and stuff like that. And then there's a one pathway is the tutor, the guy who's there to teach you how to speak and be an upper class person, and one of the paths is actually your brother. So I don't know how that storyline's gonna go, but
that's really strange.
All these games. You've played Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I have played Fire Emblem. That's just how these things go.
They don't care about that stuff. But and then there's the issue with the endings and how you get them, because in this game, all right, again, I'm going to go to Code Realize as the great example of how
to handle
the weight of your choices and what their effects are in the game. Now, like in Code Realize, you will have chances to interact with characters, and a lot of times they will drop hints. For example, in one of the characters, you can pick a character in Code Realize just for a scene who will teach you some self-defense, and he'll tell you what to do in certain situations. And like, he gives you a tip, like, look, if you're ever in this situation, you want to get a quick shot on the guy, but don't stay in the fight. Just you get a quick shot, like kick him in the nads and then run, right? That kind of thing, right? Later in the game, you'll be in a situation where you'll have the choice. Like you'll catch somebody, like you're captured by someone. You're captured by this like serial killer, actually, and you do get the drop on him, and you kick him and he's distracted, and they give you the option to finish him off or just get the heck out of there. And if you remembered what the guy told you like 5 hours earlier in the story, the right choice is to get the heck out of Dodge and not continue the battle. And if you make the wrong choice, you die. And it's like, all right, at least there was something to base the decision on, and the outcome of your choices makes sense.
That's actually really cool. I think that's the way this genre should be written.
Right. They give you the information somewhere. In here, the decisions are, first off, a lot of the decisions don't even sound like they're different. It's just like I can say I don't like what this character did in two different ways. Like I say, no, you should have gone back for that person, or I don't believe leaving people behind, right? I could literally say two things that mean the same thing, but it was two different ways, and one is the right answer and one was the wrong answer. And because I made too many of these wrong answers, I just got stuck with a very lame ending that was not very satisfying, and yeah, just nothing happened in the ending, and I was just like, kind of fizzles out, and I was like, oh.
Wow.
They give you a symbol on the screen to show you when you've made a right answer, and this is kind of a trope of the series in general, like a little graphic will pop up to show you that you've earned more affinity with this character. But, I mean, what's the point of doing that when I can just, like, all right, might as well just keep loading my save file and always picking the right decision, and they don't make sense anyway. I don't know. I just was...
Yeah. Now, I have played visual novels in the form of, like, the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney series, and it does kind of have that, that trope where you can go back to a save and pick the right option later on. Mm-hmm. But at least in something like Ace Attorney, it is a puzzle that you have to figure out. And there is a reason why, or there's a built-in story reason why that's the right answer, or that's the thing you should press forward for.
Right.
With this, it almost seems kind of arbitrary, and I think that's the impression I'm getting.
Some of them are just arbitrary, and... again, it doesn't feel like very thought out. And this again comes back to the fact that you're interacting with characters before you know anything about them, and and the fact that there is no cohesive story. There is no story other than you're stuck with, you're with whatever character you picked, and you're going to either make the right choices to get a happy ending with them, or you're going to make the wrong choices and you're going to get a blah ending with them. And I don't know. It just didn't feel very strong, and it's just so boring when it's just literally one character to talk to throughout an entire playthrough of the game. It's just not that. It doesn't feel that engaging.
Right. It doesn't sound like it's any dynamic. There's nothing really involved.
Yes. So I guess my bottom line is that I was hoping that I'd find a game that could be a good gateway or intro to this genre for people, but I'm gonna have to wait still. And in the meantime, I'll have to tell people, if anything has piqued their interest about this genre, go play Code Realize on something else in the meantime.
Oh my gosh! You'll find your dream gateway story.
I'll find. Switch needs to have something so I can talk to other people about this, and I'm not going to cave and tell people to play Hot Tofu Boyfriend. I'm sorry. Everyone tells me, I tell them I'm into the genre, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, I played Hot Tofu Boyfriend." I'm like, no, a game where you date pigeons does not count. I'm sorry. I know it's a good game, yes, and it has a lot of accolades, but it is not the same kind of feeling as a true visual novel romance.
You will find your visual novel prince on the Switch one day, Casey. No, it's so I'm assuming you don't really recommend this game to people.
No, I really can't. And I wanted to like this, and like I said, I'm a fan of this very niche genre, and I don't have a lot of these options to pick from, and even I can't say this is a strong pick for a genre that literally has one entry on the Switch right now.
Well, I'm glad that you shared your guilty pleasure genre with everyone, and perhaps once a game comes out that fits into my guilty pleasure genre, I'll review it in the future.
All right, so why don't we stop there and let's move into the news rundown.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, news rundown, and here are your headlines.
Headlines!
All right, so we have a lot of Labo-related news to get through this week. First and foremost, I just wanted to note how many Labo kits were actually sold over the weekend. I can always say numbers, but I feel like nothing captures it quite as much to say that it actually sold twice as many units in Japan as God of War did there.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, considering, Labo is cardboard and God of War is awesome.
Yeah, God of War is awesome, and it is, I've heard nothing but amazing things about it all week, and I think that, it's popular still in Japan, though I guess maybe it's not quite as popular there as in the West.
Right, yeah. I do feel like God of War has a bit more Western sensibility to it, so maybe that contributed to this number disparity. Mm-hmm. But it's still reassuring to hear positive aspects of the Labo sales-wise.
It just makes it clear that it's not a niche product. It's not a niche product. It's something that actually has, as we weren't sure whether it was going to have like widespread appeal or if it was just going to be a little cool side thing Nintendo did that never was super popular, but, was fondly remembered.
We don't know. We didn't know if this was going to be another Wii Fit.
Yeah,
or
right.
a Wii Vitality sensor.
Right. And we still don't know 100% because it could be just like a fad. Like Wii Fit was super popular. But
for a second.
Right, yeah. For like 3 months, it was all over the news, and it was everyone I knew was talking about it or asked me about it, and then it got forgotten. I think that since Labo has more things to come out for it and has I think it has more long-term potential to just kind of change and evolve and affect other games in the future. And we'll talk more about that in the next couple stories here.
Actually, we might as well go into it quickly.
Yep.
Apparently, there are a lot of third-party companies looking into the Labo, specifically Rayark, who is toying around with the idea that their rhythm games can be integrated with the Labo piano.
Yeah, they actually posted a video this week specifically showing their game Demo incorporating the Labo piano, and they actually show it off working quite well with that, and it quite fits since it is basically a piano type simulator game. It's just a natural fit, and that's them just taking advantage of something that exists already. I can totally see companies in the future creating just a piece of cardboard or something like that to go with their game that you can Labo into an accessory that they expect you to use with it, or give you at least the option. Or maybe even they'll just put a PDF online to say, hey, if you want, you could play our game with this if you want to go and, Labo it up or Toy-Con it up with this thing.
Honestly, I was watching the Rayark video for Demo and the Labo, and it made me really want the variety kit for that piano. It looks like fun as a rhythm gaming machine.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And also, if anyone's interested, if you've been making your Labo parts and maybe you've either want to make more or enjoy remaking them, or maybe you lost or broke a piece, or one of your Toy-Cons got scrapped somewhere, or your kid sat on it, you can actually now, there are replacement parts available direct from Nintendo, and we'll leave a link so people can find that there. It looks like the cardboard packs could be about $12 per kit. I'm not sure if that's how many sheets that includes for different things. But again, also they posted PDFs for every single Labo project so that you can just make the stencil, and if you don't want to buy their cardboard, you can just use these stencils.
Use your own.
Yeah, and use your own. I'm not sure exactly I'm sure they have tips on how to transfer these stencils onto a piece of cardboard. Maybe you just kind of groove into the cardboard over it somehow. I don't know. We'll see.
This kind of gets past those criticisms of Nintendo trying to make money off of cardboard. The fact that they're so willing to give out the PDFs for replacements so you can make your own kind of shows that they're really invested in the concept and the software of Toy-Cons and the Labo. Yeah. Instead of just making money off of cheap cardboard. No,
it's true. It's a pretty classy move, and I think that encourages people to treat it as like a Labo culture, and to make and remake lots of ideas with this thing. And I'm sure more people will buy it just because they get into it as a result. So positive loop.
it's great that they're not making the patterns proprietary.
Right. So fans of Splatoon 2 can look forward to, there's actually a soundtrack coming out for the Octo expansion. And it looks like it's going to be a whole 2 CD collection, which will release July 18th in Japan. And I don't know, just we got all those tracks from Off the Hook. The Squid Sisters are on there too. And I'm sure they're going to include all the ones from the Octo expansion, those new bands like the Bottom Feeders and such like that.
Yeah. It's really cool that they're going all out on the expansion, because it almost feels like its own game. Mm-hmm. The degree that they're marketing it and they're treating it as its own product.
So this is actually pretty funny. Apparently, as we mentioned last week, Galgun came out on the Switch, the physical edition there. But there was an odd misprint on the game's cover sleeve, in that the inside of the cover sleeve had a print of Wild Guns Reloaded. And that's not like it's just a game that the company does. That's a game by a totally different publisher.
Interesting.
No idea how that happened. Maybe they used recycled or extra sleeves that they gave them somehow. I don't know how this happened.
I feel like that's a manufacturing mishap, not necessarily from the publisher directly. Right.
Like the factory just had these extra sleeves laying around and they just said, "Oh, we'll use them for this project."
Maybe, or maybe whatever the printing machine printed out the wrong image or something.
Maybe, yeah. It could have just been a file got swapped in their computer, and it could have just been an accident. Yeah. So it's
kind of funny.
It is just kind of funny.
Yeah.
I was going to review Death Road to Canada this week too, but that actually was delayed for reasons of the tragic story that happened in Canada this past week.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I won't go into the details, but long story short, somebody hurt a bunch of people by driving a car into them in Canada, and the company thought it might be in bad taste to release a game called Death Road to Canada at this particular time. So they've respectfully backed off, and that's fine. It makes perfect sense. Hopefully in the next week or two, when they feel like releasing it, I can finally review it, because a couple of people in the chat room did notice they saw that game on my recently played list, on their friends list. So they were asking me if I was going to review it, and I just wanted to say, all right, I'm going to hold off until the game's officially released.
Right. Well, this game is already out on Steam.
Also, Runbow is being delayed as well, and I called this because I said when I played it at PAX this year.
PAX?
I did not like the responsiveness of the controls. It felt very loose, and it felt very hard to jump when and where I wanted to. So anyway, the release date now, not clear, but like I said, there's probably going to take at least a couple of weeks to a month or so to tighten up its Switch controls. Updates.
All right, so when it comes to updates, Splatoon 2 actually got a really big update today. So Splatoon 2 version 3.0 is out, and that comes with a lot of new stuff. So we're getting lots of new gear, they're adding more music, and I believe the most noteworthy change is that they added Rank X, which is an additional level in ranked, and it already seems like it's getting crazy, and people are really wanting to grab that X.
Yeah, it seems interesting how they're working that out. And there's a whole explanation article on how that works. But also what they've noticed, what they're doing with this now as well is, so they actually released 4 weapons with this update, but usually we would get the 1 weapon every week, and we've been doing that for quite a while now. They're kind of just changing gears, and they're going to give us a monthly drop of just 4 things, plus any other little stages that come with that. And that's going to be the new norm from here going forward.
Now, for this next one, I guess we're getting Final Fantasy 15 on the Switch, Casey.
Hey, you called it. Your system switch came true, JV.
Oh, yeah. Final Fantasy 15 on the Switch through Minecraft.
Yep.
So the Nintendo Switch edition of Minecraft is getting a Final Fantasy 15 skin pack where it lets you play as Noctis, Gladio, Ignis, Prompto, apparently Cindy, and Aranea and Arden is available to play, and the Astrals as well. Okay. You know what? I dig this. I dig this. All these characters are great.
And we got a new update for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. This is version 1.4.0, and this comes with most notably 2 new rare blades, including, first up, we got Poppy Buster, which is interesting because I don't think this looks like it would be another blade for our Nopon friend Tora, so that's actually kind of big because as far as I've noticed, he only gets the 2. I don't know if he gets a third by the end of the game or not, but I've only seen him have 2, and they were the customizable ones. Since this is another Poppy robot, I'm gonna assume that this is a third for him to have, and it's very different than the other ones. And it actually looks
Honestly,
like a big, giant Nopon robot.
Yeah, it looks so freaking cool. It is a Nopon mecha. I wonder if this is a reference to the Hulkbuster for Iron Man. Because it is a bit of a big, bulky, punchy looking robot.
And the other one is Telos RE, and she's actually from, you can only get her when you've beaten the game once. And she is actually a throwback to the Xenoblade, or Xenosaga, actually.
Right, yeah, she definitely has a Xenosaga aesthetics, total sense. They already have a Cosmos in this game, so just add more Xenoblade or Xenosaga reference and you're good to go.
Yep. Really quick, just straight up, I mentioned Demo because we had the the other Rayark stuff mentioned before, but Demo has another version update out with 14 more free songs, so something to check out. And lastly, Gear Club Unlimited added another update with some local multiplayer and a championship mode and a whole bunch of other little, new car stuff and tweaks. On the new releases, I'm going to let you do the rundown, but there was just wanted to mention one thing that I missed mentioning earlier. During this week, they released a collector's edition for Flint Hook and Mercenary Kings. This was a physical collector's edition, and I just want to say it's a great thing. It's a really cool, has lots of extras, and I never really told people too much about Mercenary Kings, but when I played it at PAX, I remembered this was a game I thought was really cool. It was a 4-player co-op Metal Slug game, and it actually could be played with like a 4-way split screen, so you could all go in different directions, and it just had really cool art. It was a fun, side-scrolling, action shooter game, and anyway, if you are interested in that, and I've already told you guys how much I love Flint Hook, this is a great collector's edition to get 2 of those games that I really like.
Yeah, it's not often that indie developers get full-fledged physical collector's editions like these. It might be worth picking up.
All right, tell us, what are the new releases for this week, JV?
All right, so on April 26th, which is today, we're getting Lightfall, Neo Geo Ghost Pilots, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm, Saturday Morning RPG, Late Shift, Agatha Knife, Sparkle Zero, KORG Gadget.
Oh yeah, that's something you might be interested in.
I don't know what it is.
It's a music tool.
Oh yeah, I know what that is. Oh yeah, so yeah, KORG is actually a really interesting company because they always seem to port these music creation software onto Nintendo products. They've even been doing this since the Nintendo DS, so it's interesting that they have their niche with Nintendo products.
Yeah,
it's
lots of cool little make your own, not just remixes, but like synthesize your own music with this. And yeah, it's available on a lot of stuff, and this is their Switch iteration of their music software.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Very cool. Now, we're also getting a robot named Fight. I like that. We're getting Goetla?
I don't know.
Something. And then Skypiece. On April 27th, we're getting Drago Dino, 12 Orbits, Jotun, Valhalla Edition, Save the Ninja Clan, and Bouncy Bob. On 28th, we're getting Super Sario Fly. May 2nd, we're getting 10-Yard Fight and Neo Geo Stakes Winner.
Yes, 10-Yard Fight, NES classic. That's like my first sports game was a 10-Yard Fight.
Really? 10-Yard Fight? Okay.
It was a simple football game. It's not too shabby. All right, down the pipe, we have, as far as games that either were just announced or just given release dates, we have Don't Die, Mr. Robot DX. Fox and Forest is coming out May 17th. A really surprising one was Sonic Mania Plus, which is an enhanced edition of the Sonic Mania game. And interesting to note, if you already own Sonic Mania, don't feel like you're left out. You could actually get your game upgraded for $4.99, and you could just download all the extras for this. And it includes 2 new characters.
And if you have a previous save file for Sonic Mania, getting the new Sonic Mania works just fine.
And I just have to mention my pet peeve when I was watching the trailer for this. And it's a really cool trailer, by the way, with lots of cool, like, animated Sonic stuff. Always worth watching these ones.
Oh, yeah.
But my pet peeve is when they show 4-player split screen or 4-player co-op, and they say, you can play with 4 friends. I'm like, no. You can play with 3 friends. You're the 4th person. It's not play with Casey. 4 friends. It's playing with 3 friends. You can play with 4 players. Yeah, that's it.
Total. 4 players total. I got
But if you were saying play with 4 friends, that means it's a 5-player game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. It's
a thing.
It's a semantic issue.
Yes.
Really.
All right, we have Shining Resonance coming out July 10th. This is a cool looking third-person action RPG. It has kind of a Monster Hunter-y kind of action feel to it, too.
Yeah.
Wizard of Legend, which is coming out July 15th. This looks like a 2-player co-op, Hyper Light Drifter almost. Very fast action game where you have teleporting characters and brawl them around. Perfect Angle, May 3rd. Unexplored Unlocked Edition, spring. And they just announced Saga Scarlet Grace, which is the newest entry in I think this is a new Saga game, and it's a RPG, the series that I love the concept of, but I can never finish because they're very hard and they're very open-ended, and you can go a lot of places, but that also means you can walk around the corner and you're suddenly fighting monsters 50 levels higher than you.
Right, and that's part of the appeal that this game has. It's intentional.
They're very open, they're very free with your decision, but you really have to know what you're doing to survive these games.
Yeah.
Guilty Gear, XX, Accent Core Plus R, because of course that's what you would call it.
Because of course.
And they announced, though, that's the first Guilty Gear game coming to the Switch. And Arc System Works also noted that they plan to bring more fighters to the Switch as well. So we got another contender for the growing population of fighting games and serious ones on the Switch here.
Oh yeah, it's a really cool trend. Maybe this means they might bring over Dragon Ball FighterZ. Maybe.
Banner of the Maid, which is a French Revolution-themed strategy RPG or tactics kind of game. It has a Final Fantasy Tactics feel to it with these animated girl characters in it, and it looks nice, but I actually didn't get to see any of the gameplay in the trailer, so I don't know what the actual combat looks like. But so far, pretty. And finally, Night Trap 25th Anniversary Edition.
Night Trap. Something, Night Trap. Sorry.
Let's go into the Community Pulse and wrap this show up, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, Community Pulse. Again, I just want to ask everybody if they've been playing with the Labo. We didn't actually get a ton of people. I don't know how many people actually went out and got it for themselves, but we got just a couple of responses here. I just wanted to read one or two.
Yeah, it's worth sharing. The Labo is very new, and some people, even if you're standard Nintendo fans, you can be a little skeptical about this, and skepticism is totally valid.
I do think a lot of people just kind of wanted to sit back and see how the chips fall before they picked it up.
All right, so from Dane Brooks, my son, 11, got one. We built the RC cars the first night, and he started on the fishing pole this week. He says he's had fun building them, but hasn't gone back to it for a couple days. It's taking all my self-restraint not to hijack his kit and start building the toy cons myself. I'm seriously thinking about ordering some additional packs from Nintendo for myself. Now, you don't actually have to do this. They do have the PDFs online that you can download. Right. So if you want to make additional Toy-Con stuff, maybe consider using those.
Yeah, or just buy the cardboard that they do sell without having to buy the whole kit, or just buy the cardboard for the kits that you want.
Right, exactly. I think it's actually really good that they're doing that separately. Just a lot of options for purchasing the game if you already have the software.
I hear that kind of situation more often than not so far, that the kids that I've seen like this are really excited at it for like the first 10, 20 minutes or whatever. They play with it. But the parents seem to be the ones who are like coming back the day after and are like thinking of taking their creations to the next level. Like, it's actually more appealing, I think, to the parents in the long term, where the kids get really excited, very short burst at it.
Yeah, it's still a really good, fun experience for kids. And I do have quite a number of gamer friends who are parents, and they're sharing their Labo experiences on Facebook. And it's really heartening to see kids engaging in creating something this way. And it's really interesting to see, and I can see how it's appealing to both parents and kids. And
I don't want to read, because he asked a question I think some people might be interested in. Dave McLaughlin, he asked, can you play the games without building the kits? Can these games be played without the cardboard shells, allowing people to not have to keep everything built to occupy a ton of space like Rock Band instruments used to? I don't think games like the robot game, right? I mean, you probably technically, from what it looks like, be able to control it with just buttons and stuff, but like, it's going to be such a subpar game if you're controlling it with just the control. Like, the point of it is that it's you controlling it with your arms. It's not like ARMS itself, right? Where like it was just waggle controls as a kind of a side option. Like this, the entire experience is having a backpack that can tell how you're moving in like virtual reality almost.
Half the experience for this game is building the cardboard.
Right.
And I think you're missing out if you just try to avoid the cardboard altogether and try to play the software without it.
Yeah. And then the other end of it is things like the RC car, where it's not even, there isn't a game in the system for that. It's just you're making a physical toy, and the game is what's the superfluous part. You don't need a game. It's a thing that you're supposed to make the game for just as much as you made the toy, right? Other than that, you just enjoy it.
We were talking about making like physical competitions and races, or customizing your little cardboard RC car. That's the point of Labo. I don't think the software itself is really the primary concern.
No. The software
focus.
Is such a small part of it. If you would even consider playing anything on the software without the actual toy cons, then you should really pass on this, because you're probably not the person who's going to get the enjoyment out of this, the proper level of enjoyment.
I definitely want to stress that the software is essential to playing it, but it's not the focus. And, it's cardboard, so it's not like it's incredibly difficult to flatten.
It's true. I haven't tried disconnecting one. That might be something interesting, like to try to deconstruct something and see if I could store it.
Right.
And then rebuild it.
Yeah.
All right. That's pretty much the only thing we had for Community Pulse. So I decided for this system switch, I wanted to go with just a concept I had, not necessarily a game that actually exists, but just an idea for a toy con that I would like to see made for the Switch and maybe brought into a game. The first thing that came to my mind actually was those weird ghost sensors from Ghostbusters.
Ghost sensors?
Like that weird like radar thing they had. Like it was like this weird handheld computer on a stick, and it had these like spinning tubes at the end of it, or proton packs, like that kind of stuff. I can imagine 100 different cool Ghostbusters type paraphernalia, like the ghost traps that they threw on the floor.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. That for some reason, all this kind of Ghostbuster stuff came to my head, and I thought, man, if they made a whole Ghostbuster experience with a variety of different toy cons, like that could be a whole kit right there. Like different cardboard pieces. You make everything from the proton pack to the little gun to the sensor and the trap, and it would all come together in different ways for a crazy, Ghostbuster-y experience.
Okay, I can definitely see that. That sounds like it'd be really cool. Now, for me, I was kind of thinking the same way, but when it comes to the Toy-Con garage, I'm not entirely sure the capabilities of it, but I'd really like to see some sort of, gyroscopic puzzle labyrinth type toy you can make with cardboard. I feel like, do you remember one of those labyrinth marble mazes that you make?
Oh, I love those things. Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah, I feel like you can do something like that with Toy-Con. And with cardboard you have lying around. It's a formulated, it's an idea, but I feel like it's something that I might try to explore when I get into the Toy-Con garage.
Alright, very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess that's our show this week, huh, JV?
Yeah, that's a lot. It's just a lot of cardboard, and I expect more cardboard coming in the future. And until next time,
switch it up! Thanks for listening. You can support the SwitchCast by visiting us at patreon.com/theswitchcast and join the review crew by rating us and subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Also check out our Discord chat where we have an enthusiastic bunch of Switch fans in a family-friendly environment. Also join our Facebook group for daily discussion and quite a bit of activity towards the Switch itself.
You can also contact us directly via email at kc@theswitchcast.com and jv@theswitchcast.com. Talk to us on Twitter at @theswitchcast.
Thank you, HeatleyBros, for the theme music. And check us out on our website at theswitchcast.com, where we will post all relevant links and show notes.
Promotional considerations provided by publishers in the form of review copies of games. That's my cat. Dang, I gotta wait for him to stop poop scratching.
cat butts, KC.